Hi, I'm going to show you how you can install an iPad mini into your car with using no screws, no drill bits, and making a clean installation and one that you can use to communicate with and do GPS and any other function that you can do on an iPad mini. Now this happens to be a 2004 Jaguar, which did not come with a navigation system, which is normally right here. And the option for that year was to use one that involved using DVDs as maps and such. So it's kind of old school, the ones that do have it. In this case, we don't have any GPS system in their car. Maybe you have the same sort of thing. Well, this is a great alternative because it'll give you your GPS, it'll give you communications, you can even listen to radio, you can listen to Pandora, anything else you can do with an iPad mini in here. The ProClip Mount is made specifically for your car. In this particular case, it mounts to the side of the center console cushion here, and each side clips in behind it and has two pieces of adhesive tape to keep it firmly mounted. And it really makes a nice clean mount, and it's very firm and very solid, and you didn't have to use any screws or drill any holes, so it just basically clips on. This was typical in my previous cars too. There's no screws or drills needed. They find a way to clip it and make it secure and give it a good solid fit. For this particular use, we're going to use the iPad mini car mount. It looks like this. Lightning cable attached to it, and in my case I'm using the one with the USB end on it. And what I'm going to do is there happens to be a cigarette lighter down here, and I have an adapter in there that turns it into a USB power source. I'm just going to plug it into the adapter, and then we can mount this simply by screwing the center screw in to the mounting bracket back there. And you'll notice that the bracket is circular, allowing this to pivot on like a ball joint, so you can move it up and down. So I'm just going to screw this in offline here for you. Once you have the iPad mini holder attached to the base mount through the center screw right here, it'll be on a pivot, and you can move it around. You can also rotate it. We're just going to keep this in the vertical position for right now for demonstration purposes. So it's firmly mounted, and there's just enough tension in there to keep it solid and steady unless you want to physically rotate it. So now we'll take our iPad mini, and there's two guide rails on here, one on each side. It'll slide right down, and at the base here we have our USB to Lightning connector, so that as soon as I pop it in, it'll begin charging itself. Now, one thing that you will want to have, they sell this bracket in several versions, but it's highly recommended that you get the one with the lock that goes in on the top. What this does is it slides in from the top on two slots on here. It's a locking device. It slides right down, and then in the center I'm going to push this where the key goes. Now your iPad is locked in here. Now I guarantee you this is not, I'm not trying to say that this is theft prevention, but it's a theft discouragement device, because obviously if somebody really wanted to take this out, they could just reach it and just yank it off the dash. But usually if people see this lock at the top, it's going to discourage people and say, oh, it's locked in, and they're going to probably assume that the mount is solidly attached to the dash. So it'll be a theft discouragement device. Now, I'm not going to show you all the things that an iPad mini does. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it already. But the handy thing about this is make sure you get the version with 3G. That way, on the road, you're able to send and receive messages. You can even place FaceTime calls back and forth, so you can actually use it more or less as a telephone. And there are some obvious handy apps for running in the car, which I have this connected to the car, and you can check things like your coolant and do gas mileage and speedometer, a lot of different things by the ODB2 connector. Also have my Escort Live radar on here, and essentially you're going to be using this a lot for maps and GPS, so you can still go with your Escort here, and this will, I don't have it connected at the moment, But this will give you all your GPS stuff and your mileage, mile per hour, and obvious things like that. So again, I don't want to go over all the apps that I have on here because they're fairly obvious what you can use for this car, but specifically GPS. Another thing that I incorporated into this installation is called the Jabra Freeway. It's a Bluetooth-enabled device that gives you hands-free communication and clips onto your visor, so that after you mount it, basically you just see this little telephone shape, and it sits like this up on top of your visor. One of the things that it does is obviously gives you two-way communication in the case if I'm using FaceTime, or I can hold it down, this button. This is actually a button here as well. I can hold it down and enable Siri to get locations and any other information you want on that. Also, it serves as the speaker for this device, so it's an external speaker. So if you have a podcast, it will play right through.
I vouch for this person. You're asking me if I'm going to vouch for it.
So the sound is actually coming out of the Jabra Freeway right now.
If there were like a hash that represented.
So when this is mounted right above you on your visor, this is actually pretty loud, and you can hear it very well on the freeway. And again, it can be also simultaneously connected to your cell phone, and you can send and receive calls on it. I believe it will handle up to 3 concurrent devices. So if I can be playing from the iPad, if I get a phone call to come in, the iPad will blank out on the audio side, and it will allow me to work my phone to do voice back and forth. And it's actually very clear. I've never had anyone ask me to repeat what I was saying or anything like that. They said the sound quality is really good. The sound quality coming out of this is equally as good too. I've been very happy with it. I don't play a lot of music through it, but I do use it specifically for podcasts, so voice just sounds great. It does have an option as well. There's a button on here called FM, which allows you to send it your audio out through your radio on a specific channel like 88.7 or something like that, and it'll handle several channels that you can choose from depending on which one's being used less. I haven't used that much because in this particular car the antenna is on the back windshield, and it doesn't receive very well, so it's got a very, very short range, so I haven't really utilized that function that much. But otherwise, this is a great combination when you use this Jabra and the iPad mini in your car. You've pretty much got everything settled. So that's really all there is to it. We've got a clean installation. We didn't alter the dash any. The car is resellable. I can remove this unit if I go to sell the car, and nobody will ever know that it was installed here. So I hope this helps solve some of your problems if your car did not come with a GPS, and or you want to just use all the functions that come on an Apple device. It's really handy, it's clean, it's convenient, and I give it 2 thumbs up. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments on this installation, please leave them in the comments section below. And thank you very much for watching.